5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Science holds the key to our survival as a planet.
But science is cumulative.
Modern science
is the knowledge.
Hi, my name's Ali, and this is our podcast, Science Overdose. We'll start today's episode by talking about Alzheimer's. We know that more than 5 million people live with Alzheimer's in the United States. It's also the 6th leading cause of death. Number 7 is diabetes, and number 5 is strokes, also known as cerebrovascular diseases. And we all know somebody that has Alzheimer's, be it a family member, a friend, or a famous person such as Sir Terry Pratchett, author of Discworld, or President Reagan. Alzheimer's is a terrifying disease. It can't be stopped, it can't be prevented, and it can't be cured. And by 2025, the number of people living with Alzheimer's will pass 7 million. In 2050, it'll pass 16 million. So this is why, by educating yourself, you're going to be able to help family members, or even yourself, if you start getting symptoms of Alzheimer's, you'll be able to take the necessary steps, seeing a doctor, learning how to slow down the progression of the disease. The most obvious sign of Alzheimer's is memory loss that disrupts your life, such as forgetting important dates, asking about the same thing or information repeatedly. But it's normal to forget stuff, because with our busy lifestyles, we usually think of a million things at the same time. But the problem reveals itself when it starts to get out of control, forgetting everything. Our next sign is challenges in planning and problem solving, such as concentration, paying bills, and even simple tasks such as making a sandwich. Because when you make a sandwich, you put this chronological order of events inside your head. You start by taking out the bread, then you put the cheese, then you roll it up. But a patient suffering from Alzheimer's will usually mix up the steps, say rolling the bread and then putting cheese on it. There's also difficulty in completing familiar tasks, like having trouble working the washing machine, or when writing a check, he forgets the order of the information to put in, which is what we just saw with sandwich making. There's also time and place confusion, such as forgetting what year the patient is in, or which season he's in. Like he might go out with a t-shirt in the middle of winter, or go out in a winter jacket in the middle of summer. Vision problems are also signs for Alzheimer's, such as reading difficulties, judging distances, or determining colors and contrasts. They might also exhibit speaking problems, such as repeating themselves, forgetting terms, such as referring to their watch as a hand clock, forgetting a loved one's name. Then there's losing items and forgetting its locations, or accusing others of stealing the item when they can't find it. There's also poor judgment with money or proper hygiene. There's depression because people with Alzheimer's usually know what's happening with them, so they fall into this terrible depression and they start retreating away from others, when they should be seeking out as much help and attention as they can possibly get. And finally, we have change in moods, between days and even certain periods of the same day, because they are usually more able to do stuff during the morning, and they start losing concentration as they approach the evening. And so these are the top 10 signs of Alzheimer's. And although there's no cure, 90% of what we know on Alzheimer's has been discovered in the past 15 years. We also know that the most important factors are age and familial history. And so research in Alzheimer's is rapidly expanding, and many governments are pouring tons of money into research. Moving on to some sleep-related news, a recent study showed that adolescents stress more with poor sleep. Cortisol levels that indicate stress are located in higher concentrations in adolescents with poor sleeping habits. And as we know, less sleep is usually associated with poor academic and emotional outcomes. But surprisingly, the effects of sleep problems and cortisol release was greater in teenage girls than in boys, which means that they may be more sensitive and disrupted by poor sleep quality. The University of Tsukuba along with Dai Nippon, a printing company, have developed a low-cost technique to build human organ models that help reveal complicated interior organ structures using 3D printers. The cost of producing these models is 1/3 of the cost of current technology, which means that 3D printing is rapidly becoming much more efficient and cost-effective. In other news, a new type of glue that's made out of metal may be able to overthrow soldering. The glue is called mesoglue, and it's able to set at room temperature and requires very little pressure to set. It's just like soldering, but without the heat. It's also much more cheaper than soldering and may replace thermal grease and solders. It will be used in products such as solar cells, pipe fittings, computers, and mobile phones. And who would have thought that we could come up with a product such as metallic glue? There's also more scientific news, but I like to keep these episodes short because people are busy and these are the kind of like short scientific bursts of information that appear once every week. So for that reason, I'll probably post our next episode on Friday. Thank you for listening, and please don't forget to press the subscribe button down below. Thank you.